Welcome everybody to another edition of Let's Play WCW 1998. Now I know anybody who watches TEW Let's Plays for TEW never sees the person behind the camera's face, but this is the longest really any series I've ever done in this. Any installment of this series has gone ever, and I've been doing this series off screen, written through Microsoft Word since 2012, so that's about 3 years of it never going past part 20. But today is part 20, and that's why I'm using the face cam. So, without further ado, further delay, let's get to the Let's Play. We kick off Nitro tonight with highlights of last week's encounter between Hulk Hogan, Sting, Randy Savage, and Diamond Dallas Page. And we speak on how important tonight is in determining who will be challenging for the WCW World Heavyweight title in 2 weeks at Slamboree, live on pay-per-view. Now we move to the next segment, which is Ric Flair. Let me just do this. Let me do this. Ric Flair comes out. He stampedes out to the ring. He's walking with a purpose, like Vince McMahon does when he does that strut. And he's strutting with a purpose. I go from talking about Vince to back to Ric Flair. Ric Flair comes out. This is Flair's first match, first time being on Nitro since he got assaulted by a 3-on-1 attack by Sid, Roddy Piper, and Greg the Hammer Valentine a few weeks ago. Ric Flair is now back on Nitro, and he wants Roddy Piper. He wants Roddy Piper to come on to the ring and face him like a man, and let's end this, Flair says. Let's end this, Roddy. We have had fights. We've had wars. We've teared down the house, and we brought everybody in the seats. You have respect for me. I know you do, and I used to have respect for you before you started being like this. Because, Roddy, you are nothing more than a shell of your former self. You are not the legend. You are not the icon that came to WCW to stop Hollywood Hogan. You are a Ric Flair wannabe, because you can't face the facts that I'm a bigger star than you ever would be, and you hate it. You hate it. Roddy, you hate it. So come on out here and face me one-on-one, and let's settle this. As Rick doesn't get hit with somebody he knows. Rick doesn't get hit with somebody, the person who he expected to come out, but somebody does come out, and it's Double A. And Double A has this to say to Rick. He has this to say to Rick. Rick, while you were gone, some talent stepped up in your absence. When you were gone, people had helped Chris Benoit. I have Dean Malenko ready and just waiting for the call. Rick, you're out here provoking Piper. The one thing you don't get is Piper won't come out by himself. It's just like when me, you, and Tully and various assortment of other people were in the Horsemen. And fact is, Rick, we did what Piper is doing. But now the shoe is on the other foot, and you're on the receiving end, and you don't know how to react. You don't know how it feels to be on the receiving end. Rick, I'm not out here to tell you that I'm joining the other side. I'm not out here to tell you that you're fighting a fight that you can't win. I'm out here as your best friend to tell you you don't have to stand here alone. You don't have to go at it alone because you have reinforcements. You have Chris Benoit. You have Dean Malenko ready, willing, and more than able to come out and fight on your side against Piper, Sid, and Greg Valentine. And Rick, Benoit will be back eventually. Malenko is here and ready to fight. Sounded like the Mortal Kombat guy, didn't I? He's ready to fight. But you have to ask for his help. You have to tell him when and where, and he'll be there. And I'll be there. I may not be able to get in the ring like I used to, but Rick, I still have your back. And Arn, just as Rick is about to start talking again, here comes Tully. And Tully tells Rick and Arn that he's got an idea. That in 2 weeks at Spring Stampede, Chris Benoit will be back. By Spring Stampede, Chris Benoit would have returned. So, let's have a 6-man tag team match. Ric Flair, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko against Sid Vicious, Roddy Piper, and Greg the Hammer Valentine, with me as the special guest referee. How about that? So Tully Blanchard basically just thrusted himself into the main event, made a match for Spring Stampede, 6-man tag, Team Flair, Malenko, and Benoit against Piper, Sid, and Greg Valentine, with Tully Blanchard as the special referee. What will Roddy Piper's team, side, whatever you want to refer to him as, what do you think Roddy Piper will have to say about that? Is that fair? Can Tully Blanchard do that? Let me know in the comments what you think. Now on to this match. Fit Finlay against Mortis. And you might notice Fit Finlay is the TV champion. Well, the reason for that is Chris Benoit got injured at Slamboree's the next pay-per-view. Chris Benoit got injured at Spring Stampede, and due to his injuries could not fulfill his obligations as TV champion. Therefore, Tully Blanchard vacated the WCW World TV title from Chris Benoit, and a tournament was held on Saturday night to crown a new TV champion, and Fit Finlay won that tournament and is now the TV champion in WCW. And as you can see, successfully made his first defense of the title against Mortis. I always liked Fit Finlay, Dave Finlay, Fit Finlay, whatever you want to call him. And I always thought he had talent, and that's why I thought when he came to the WWE, he was tremendous help, not just as an agent, which he still is, I'm pretty sure, but in the ring as well, working with talent like Bobby Lashley and Kennedy, and etc., etc. Now we move to the next segment, which is a video promoting Goldberg and the streak that he's been on since September of 1997. And the announcers comment on the fact that tonight the Flock member that Goldberg will be facing is Perry Saturn. Yes, for 2 weeks Saturn has told Raven, put him in the ring against Goldberg and he will beat him. Tonight Perry Saturn has put it's time for put up or shut up. Now we go backstage with Eric Bischoff and Ted DiBiase talking about what we saw last week with Scott Hall returning. Does this mean Hall is in the NWO? Does this mean Hall sold out to his friend? Sold out to the devil himself, Eric Bischoff. We will hear from Scott Hall eventually, possibly tonight if I remember correctly, and we will find out why he did what he did to Kevin Nash last week on Nitro. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there will be an annotation up in the top right of the screen to go back and watch last week. It's the main event. Find out what I'm talking about. What did Scott Hall do to Kevin Nash? Now we move to the next segment, which is Goldberg against Perry Saturn. If you've been keeping track of this feud, and not only that, but if you've been watching the last 2 weeks since Goldberg has started his feud against the Flock, you would know that the matches against the Flock, specifically Lodi and Riggs, hasn't gone too well for Goldberg, as he hasn't reached above a 40. This is the best match Goldberg has had in probably a good amount of time. Possibly in at least a month. I don't know. I would have to check and I could tell you, but I can't check now. All I'm going to say is this match was really good. Perry Saturn didn't lie. He got the most out of Goldberg. He did, and the rating tells you that, but he still came up short. What does this mean? Well, we dish it back to the announcers, and they talk about the next match likely to be made for Slamboree in 2 weeks on pay-per-view, and that is Raven versus Goldberg for the WCW United States title. Why? Because thus far, Goldberg has defeated every member of the Flock that has been put in front of him. Lodi, Kidman, Hammer, Sick Boy, Saturn, etc., etc., etc. He defeated Sick Boy and Kidman on Saturday night. That's why you did not see it, because I'm doing Saturday night off screen. But they believe Raven's title reign has will come to a close next Sunday on pay-per-view when Goldberg faces Raven. Though the match has not been made official, but who knows. Now we move to the next segment, which is Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith arriving in the audience. What does that mean? They're here. Bret Hart is in the crowd. Davey Boy Smith is in the crowd, sitting with the fans here in the DCU Center in, I believe, Massachusetts, up in New England. Now we move to the next match. Jushin Thunder Liger's debut here, or return actually, in WCW, because Jushin Liger had previously been in WCW, a part of the early stages of the Cruiserweight division, and he's had matches with the likes of Rey Mysterio in the past, and maybe this time, being back in WCW full-time on this occasion, maybe eventually you could see Liger against Rey Mysterio or the Ultimo Dragon. But for tonight, Liger up against Prince Iaukea, and Liger wins his return to WCW. Now we move to the next segment, back to the broadcast position with Bobby Heenan, Tony Schiavone, and Mike Tenay, and they talk about Davey Boy Smith and Bret Hart being back, and they question when they could be back in WCW, and if the WCW Championship Committee or WCW management in general, if they're even working on bringing them back. I mean, it might be a stupid thing to comment on, but I don't really care. They did anyway. Now we move to Tully Blanchard, who, by the way, I'm questioning whether or not I'm questioning my sanity and my decision in making Tully the authority figure, because obviously he doesn't get very good promos, but he's out here talking about Randy Savage and the fact that thus far, 2 weeks before Slamboree, Randy Savage thus far does not have a challenger for his title, but tonight that all changes because Hulk Hogan will take on Diamond Dallas Page in our main event, and another huge match will be made a little bit later tonight, or will be announced rather a little bit later tonight. But Tully Blanchard announces Diamond Dallas Page against Hulk Hogan for the main event, where the winner will be one of 3 men, will be one of 4 men in the Fatal 4-Way to determine, in the Fatal 4-Way for the WCW World Heavyweight title in 2 weeks at Slamboree on pay-per-view. Oh, shit. Well, it was announced, you know what, I'm going to run with it. It was announced earlier on the broadcast, or decided by the Championship Committee, off screen, off camera of course, that Diamond Dallas Page lost the United States title to Raven at Spring Stampede. Then 2 weeks later, he comes out, calls out Randy Savage, and is thrust into the world title picture, like this, in the snap of the fingers, within the snap of the fingers. He's automatically in the title picture, even though he just lost the United States title. Well, the Championship Committee decided if Diamond Dallas Page competes in 2 matches tonight, which this is his first one, and the second one was just announced. If Diamond Dallas Page competes in 2 matches tonight and displays enough to make the WCW Championship Committee change their minds, then Diamond Dallas Page will get his opportunity. And now, post-match, this is actually the reason why this match is taking place, outside of the fact that Diamond Dallas Page is competing in 2 matches. I chose Booker T because of this. Because Lance Storm and Chris Jericho run out to the ring and attack Booker T. And just before, they don't inflict a lot of damage, they just run out, attack him, knock him down, and dart out the other side. It's a hit and run attack, basically. Why? Because Jericho and Storm are not, I guess you could say they're not the strongest people, and because of that, making them go face to face in the first brawl against Stevie Ray and Booker T, not the best idea. Well, this segment also doubled as the heel turn for Chris Jericho. We now move to the next segment, which is Scott Hall coming down to the ring and cutting a promo about, to speak rather, let's keep this, kayfabe, backstage stuff. He comes down to talk about what happened last week between him and Kevin Nash, and he's going to say this, that all I've been hearing for the last week is why Scott, why? Why why cost your best friend his match? Not even on accident, on purpose. Well, fact is, I know where Kevin is, and Kevin is home with his wife because Kevin doesn't know how to react to what happened. Well, Kevin, let me give you some background, and let me give all of you some background too. Back at Super Brawl in February, I fought Sting for the WCW World Title in a title for career match. I obviously came up short, because if I didn't, I would still hold that world title. But I came up short, and I was fired by Eric Bischoff. Since that time, one person has come to bat for me to bring me back, and that is Kevin Nash. But when I lost my job, and I went home and told my wife that I don't have my job anymore, my wife said that she was gonna leave if I didn't get my job back. Because when you're used to living a certain way, you don't want to live any other way. And if somebody is gonna take that away from you, you try and try and try again to stop them from doing it. And now, all I had to do was figure out a way to get back in WCW. I got a call a couple of weeks ago from Ted DiBiase telling me an idea he had. And yes, the idea involved Kevin. Fact is, you people can't tell me you want to do the exact same thing if you were in my position. Because if you were in my position, you would have to do what's best for your family, and not just what's best for your friends. Kevin is like a brother to me. But I had to protect my family and keep them together. And that's exactly what I did. And that's why Eric Bischoff allowed me to come back. He allowed me to come back if I took out the person who started the tension between the NWO. who screwed up the powerhouse of WCW, Kevin Nash. I chose to come back for my family, and that's it. And Kevin, I'm sure you can understand that. Please tell me you can. And now we go to commercial break. As we come back, the announcers discuss a little bit about what we just heard from Scott Hall, and also the fact that the Stinger will be taking on the Giant in the other half of tonight's double main event. Sorry, a little bit paranoid, but speaking of the Stinger versus the Giant, it's coming up right now as Randy Macho Man Savage is making his way down to do color commentary for the match as Sting faces the Giant. I don't understand what's wrong with the Giant and why he, well, isn't very good. Because though this is a 22-point increase in ratings from last week's match and another 22-point increase from the pay-per-view, still, he's versing the most popular person in the company. Could it have been that they drew? Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, still would have thought that it would have gotten better. But what are you going to do? Either way, Sting and the Giant draw in their match due to double countout. Sting has a heated confrontation with Randy Savage because Sting is now officially added to the WCW title match this Sunday in 2 weeks at Slamboree, because he is exercising his rematch clause for the WCW World title. Now we move to the broadcast position where, Tony Mike, I don't know why, their names skipped out of my head. Tony, Mike, and Bobby discuss what the title picture looks like now with Sting exercising his rematch clause against Randy Savage at the pay-per-view, being one of two other competitors to challenge Randy Savage at Slamboree. And now we move to the next segment, which is the main event. Diamond Dallas Page in his second match tonight against Hulk Hogan, and Diamond Dallas Page is victorious tonight against Hollywood Hogan as Bret Hart interferes in the match, distracting Hulk Hogan, allowing Diamond Dallas Page to hit the Diamond Cutter on Hollywood Hogan and win the match. Now, what happens here is nothing. Hulk Hogan is down on the mat, and Bret Hart enters the ring and applies the sharpshooter to Hulk Hogan right in the middle of the ring, and all you hear is Hulk Hogan writhing in pain and tapping out as Eric Bischoff ascends on the stage, which I don't know why this got so bad. Oh, could be because I'm in New England. Go figure why I chose that, but whatever. Eric Bischoff comes out and has a heated confrontation with Bret Hart, who still has Hollywood Hogan in the sharpshooter when we go off, when Nitro ends, and he's staring down Eric Bischoff. I think right now, I apologize actually, no, that's not Massachusetts. That is actually the Mid-Atlantic. I'm pretty sure that was in the Mid-Atlantic region. Let's cover that. fact of the matter is, I no, I don't usually keep it up for this long. I'm not using my normal mouse. I'm using the touchpad from my laptop because I am slowly but surely transferring over to my new computer, which is a desktop. But as you can see, I have to get a webcam for it, or I can just do non-webcam episodes for the rest of this installment, then switch the next installment. But I want you to decide that. Let me know in the comment section below, did you like the face cam? And also let me know down below, what did you think of the show? The game thought it was better than last week, but that's not saying much. Right now, the future of this is up in the air because I'm supposed to be helping WCW, and it's not really working out. Me helping them. And I'm more so hurting them than helping them. So we gotta see what happens the next week, the pay-per-view, and the weeks leading into Great American Bash, because there's a possibility, Bash at the Beach, because there's a possibility Bash at the Beach could be our last show. But we'll see what happens. I hope you enjoyed the 20th episode of this series, and I hope you're looking out for episode 21 to see the most recent non-Let's Play video on this channel. It will be link will be in the an annotation will be in the top right, linking you to the video, which I do believe is a rant of the week. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe for more content just like this that you can only find right here on Wrestling Express. Thanks for joining me. Till next time. Later.